Hello, happy Sunday. Hope you are doing well today. Uh, we have interesting stuff to do today. I'm trying to think about last time where we were, and I think we had discovered that our little xargs tool, um, our xargs replacement, was not reading the entirety of the output from processes that it spawned. So we should have a pretty quick fix for that, I'm hoping. And let's maybe see if we can make it work today. We have hopefully not too many more sessions on this particular project. I wanted it to be fairly small, of course. My ambitions always being large on these projects, even for small scoped things. The scope has grown, so we will have done way more than I intended. But I'm kind of having fun with it right now. I hope you are too. I think Ratatouille is a very interesting library and tool for building things for the command line, and I'll make more use of it in the future. In the meantime, we'll just try to finish up what we can, and maybe do one or two more sessions after this, depending on where we get today. And then we'll look into doing something else, something new. So, with that, why don't we get started? Okay, so last week we realized, and I can I can demonstrate. We ran 10 of these, and it was, you can see it's only outputting one line from each subprogram. So we need to make sure that we capture everything, and then we can, if we got everything, then we can maybe make it scrollable within that little window that pops open. So I think I copy pasted and commented this out last time, but I believe as is this should work. So we're getting the standard out stream of the child process. And of course, we're putting a buff reader around it so we can call readline. Now, standard out should implement buff reader, but I'm not, or buff read, I think it is yeah. Anyway, for whatever reason, it might not, so we're going to use that, and that gives us this readline method that we can call. And if we get 0, then we should, if we get nothing read, we should break out of the loop. Now, I'm not absolutely positive that that's true. I think readline includes, let's see, reads all bytes into a new line until a new line is reached, and append them, including the delimiter. So if we have an empty line, which is what I would be concerned about in this case. If we have an empty line and it just has the new line character, we will still get that as a separate line, and it'll be 1 is the length here. Okay, so let's give this a shot, and hopefully, no, we're still only getting 1 line. So what might have happened here, and I think maybe what we did is we tried this last time, and I've just forgotten. What might have happened here is that let's see, we made sure it was on separate different lines. Yeah. What might have happened here is that the standard out is closed, and so it immediately hits 0. Now the other option could be that rather than doing it here after we know the process has ended, we don't break out of here. We just keep reading until we hit 0. I think it would be important for me to know what's the behavior if that stream is closed. Okay, so read line. Reads all bytes until new line is reached. Append them to the provided stream buffer. Okay. To avoid appending to the buffer, you need to clear it first. Okay, we do that. This function will read bytes from end line of stream until the new line or EOF is found. Okay. If this function returns OK 0, the stream has reached EOF. So that means there's a possibility that this is not the problem. So let's go up in here and look in our application where we're doing like handle output event. Right, okay. And we're calling this from up here, right? Okay, so our handle events is being called as long as we're not exit, right? Which makes sense because we're trying to handle all the events that are in our queue and then redraw the screen. Okay, so what we could do let's do this as well. We want to make sure that we send that after we've sent all the output, although it doesn't necessarily have to happen in that order. Yeah, we can move this down. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that this is going to fix anything now. So we just have one line. What I'm tempted to do is just put this down here. Because then we will read a bunch of them until end of file. The thing that's not clear to me, and I should know POSIX processes well enough. Hi Chris, good to see you. That you won't, when a process exits, it closes its standard output, right? by the operating system if it didn't explicitly inside the process. So if we're in a situation where the process has exited, we'll get the EOF in this loop. So I think I want to try this. Yeah, see, now we get 14 lines, right? Oh, hey, look, our page up and page down is already working. Okay. So, imagine that. So, really, that's interesting to me. Maybe it's a macOS thing, maybe it's not. But it's interesting that we had to make it read all of the lines before it would force it to or rather, what I'm trying to say is, if the process is already exited, we can't take its standard out again and read from it. It's closed. Like, that has been dropped if you didn't read it already. That's really bizarre to me. Now, what we could do potentially is maybe it has to do with trying to recapture this after it's exited. If we put this up outside the loop, let's try that. First of all, make sure nothing's... Yeah, it doesn't like that. Okay, that. I think we probably ran into that before. The issue being we can't borrow it mutable more than once. So like this borrow needs to end. This borrow cannot overlap it, and that's unfortunate. Well, here we can do that. Let's try what it suggests there. Child standard out dot take. Okay, so whatever business is going on inside here is really weird, but that's essentially moving the standard out. Now I wonder, let's for a minute comment that out and put back what we had before. I think this is what we had. Here, let's see. Help me, Zed. Oh, we had match. Yeah, let's just get that back in there. That's fine. Although, honestly, we only care... This is fine. And now this is not, since it's not a loop, this continues for the outer loop. Otherwise we do this. And we don't need to clone the buffer. We can move it there, because it doesn't need to live beyond. Okay, let's try this. And let's put another loop up here to read the rest, because this is what we were trying just a few minutes ago. I think that this, because standard out is already taken from the process, it's not closed, but I could be wrong. Okay, we need this string. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so that has the same effect. Okay, well, I kind of dislike a little bit of the duplication, but I feel slightly better about this because I didn't like going into a loop to read standard out without checking if the process is still alive. And I don't know, maybe that's not important. Maybe I'm just being weird about it. But I'll put a little comment in here. It seems that the essence of this is we needed to have the standard out stream before the process has died, before the process is exited. So okay, capture. Okay, so now we can possibly talk about our layout here, our UI. And I think I was looking at, yeah, so we have page up and page down. So we're setting the scroll position, which is cool. I think we've got a pretty good, management of state here, which is nice. I do feel a little bit weird that we've got things that are sort of orchestrating the back end of it, like the core functionality and the UI a little bit intertwined. It might make sense to break this up like we did. We had the process widget, right? And this was this had like borrowed a process, and then let's see, what were we using this selected for? Oh, right, this is sort of like a prop, like if you're selected, what line are you on? But that state was managed above in the app, right? So, another thing that we could do for safety, it's not strictly necessary, but where were we handling that event? So if a PID exits, handle the exit event. Let's go to that. We could do we need to join that. Oh, here's the problem, is that will move it. Yeah. It's a good idea generally to join subprocesses. It prevents zombies, but in this case, I don't know if it's strictly necessary. Let's see. Child. Yeah. Or no, we want join handle. Oh, this is a thread handle. Not a child process, but it's a thread. So, the thing is, we don't. Right. Um, let's see what happens if. Okay, if the thread panics, error is returned. Okay. There's a question in my mind about whether we want to even deal with that. I think it would be good to do. Here, let's make it option join handle, and then what we can do is after we have after we've exited, or after this thread has exited, we can take out of that. Right, so handle is going to be some handle. And just doing a little bit of now, it is good to note that if the thread panicked, this unwrap will also panic. So maybe it's not a good idea to unwrap there. Maybe what we can do is just say let, so we don't get the must use issue. It would note that because we're using the TTY directly, we can't just go, standard out print line or a standard error and print the error that happened or the panic that happened here. So either we have to panic or we have to drop it. And maybe I'll put a note here that says maybe we should handle when a child thread panics. Yeah. Again, I still feel a bit like this is a no-op because we already know that this has exited or will exit. Before we go any farther, let's make sure this is not broken anything. No, it hasn't. Okay. All right, I want to do one thing in here on our handle key event. I want to keys. I'm going to do something like, maybe we'll make it into a vectec. I want to like limit it to a certain number. We can truncate. Keeping the first. guess we could use truncate, and we could use push front instead of push back. Let's change that. This is just for debugging anyway. Okay, so it already imported. So we'll do push front. And let's make it, I don't know, 8. So we'll only get the latest 8. That does look kind of weird. Let's go down to where we're rendering this. Impl widget for app. Okay. What I actually want to do is reverse here, and because we're pushing on the front, we're going to flip it. So the latest one is on the right. Yep. There we go. Again, this is just debugging output, so it's not that important. What might be better to put in this header line is like, how many total processes did we run? You know, how many were successful, how many failed, that sort of thing. Okay. Little bits. All right, so one thing that might be interesting to look into is, can we do automatic wrapping? Ratatouille. So we were using the paragraph, and there is wrap. So we can set wrapping. One thing that'll be interesting here is let's just look at this. Wrap describes how to wrap text across lines. Should leading white space be trimmed? Okay, so it's either on or off on this paragraph. So let's go back to paragraph and see if there's like a no wrap option. Because by default we're not wrapping. We're just truncating at the end of the end of the visible area. This is interesting. Maybe what we could do, instead of having our scroll position in the app, we could set scroll on the paragraph. Ooh. And then what we wouldn't, let's see here. Let's go into this process widget. Right, because what we were doing here is we were manually taking 5 lines. Okay. Maybe we could combine wrap and scroll and get the same effect without having to truncate our text. So yeah. So let's go up here. Let's jump up to app. This file is getting really big. Okay, so scroll position, we could say rather than be a U size is, well, first of all, let's make a flag for wrap. And let's handle the W key and say self.wrap is not self.wrap, so we'll have it toggle. And then when we get to, I guess we'll have to pass that down into the process widget. Yeah. So down here in this, we'll say wrap is self.wrap. And then we'll fix the scroll position in a minute. All right, where's our process widget? Okay. Now down here, what we can do is, we'll say let mute paragraph. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay, and then if self.wrap, we'll do para.wrap. I guess we need to chain it like that. Because it takes. Yeah, it consumes self. There's so many different ways to do builders. Hi Isaac, good to see you. You know, a lot of them return mute self. This one in particular returns self, so I guess that makes sense for the use case that they're trying to deal with here. But when I have this Boolean, and I can't pass null to this, like it's on or off in this builder. So now I probably could do, I wonder if that implements default. Okay. I don't know. There's not a good way to thread that through that expression, so we'll just do it like that. And now let's see if we've got wrapping working. So if I hit W, yep, it starts wrapping the lines. I turn it off. Now note we manually wrapped those so that we could get multiple lines. That's interesting that, yeah. Okay. So now I think that what we should do is let's refactor that. So the scroll position to be U16, U16, right? And then, so we're gonna have to deal with the resetting the scroll position. So what we were doing before is we get, this is not gonna work anymore. Right, so this is designed to display the last 5 lines. I wonder if this says anything about the okay, that's not what we need. So I would like to be able to use left and right to use, like, if wrap is off, then you should be able to scroll right or left. That would be good. Y offset is the number of lines to scroll, and the X offset is the number of characters to scroll. So it's Y first. So I think what we do here is we do this. What I'm doing here is basically we're doing the same thing as we did before. We're saying set the scroll position to show the last 5 lines. Now I'm doing an unsafe conversion here. It could blow up. Or rather, it's not unsafe. It's just I'm not using try into. And then we're doing 0. So now if we go down to, so that's, Y and X. Y goes from the top of the buffer down to the bottom. So let's go down to here. So we need to change this. So let's go to the process definition, and this needs to be the scroll position. Okay. And then, right, so that's fine. Let's rename this scroll position. Yay for automatic refactorings. Okay, so now this is not going to be great for things that have less than 5 lines of output. We'll need to probably be a bit safer on that. But also I just realized that this should not work. Right, so this is, so page up and page down. We need to, we'll just say this, because we're just modifying the Y. Right, so, okay, so now you're going, what's wrong here? All right, so I need to do as U16. Now we probably could say, well, let's just go ahead and fix these so that they don't blow up. And as U16. Interestingly, this means that we can't have more than 255 lines of output if we want to use this scroll position thing. Oh no, not 255, like 64K lines of output, yeah. Which is a lot, but I could potentially see something spewing a lot of lines. Like, let's say what you were doing is you were taking, you were sending that to JQ or something, and it was like pretty printing a big JSON structure. Yeah, you could get 65,536 lines pretty easily. Um, so okay, well that is a definite drawback of using that scroll position versus our U size. But let's give it a shot. I want to see how this works, and then if it doesn't work great, then we can revert. Okay, so um, so here instead of this, I think what we want to do is do let contents. I think just this. And we'll remove that. Oh, right, but we need to do... We need to look at the scroll position. So maybe we'll say, let's, okay, let me back this out. And we don't want to take 5. We just want to say, and here I'm gonna, because we're not using that in here, we'll just say is sum. And then down here we'll do something similar to the wrap. We'll say if let sum scroll, or we'll just say sp self.scroll position. Then we'll do para equals para.scroll, right? sp. Now I have no idea if this is going to work, so let's find out. The interesting thing is, okay, so we're not going beyond 0. Obviously, we those bounded. Interesting that it still works even though, I think this is okay. The problem is that when we're in wrap mode, we don't know how many lines that's going to take. So we were subtracting 5. And maybe if we're going to go in that mode, what we should do is, instead of, when we reset the scroll position, instead of subtracting 5, we just give it the last line and let Ratatouille wrap as needed. So yeah, I think we can fix that. Yeah, let's just do length as U16. Okay. Yeah, okay, except we need 1. We need to subtract 1 so that we show at least the last line. Okay. Right. So I don't know how I feel about that. I think that there's probably something we can do in here to tell it, hey, you've got 5 lines, even though our scroll position is way down at the bottom. Let's figure that out. There's probably something in here. Not style. Okay. Oh, that's the unstable rendered line info. Yeah, that's an unstable feature in Ratatouille. I don't know if I want to rely on that right yet. It could be okay. Now we are given the rect. That if we did our own computations on that, we probably would do something wrong, because we've got to get the title, which is sort of a separate concern, from the paragraph. Perhaps what we could do is just do some kind of heuristic value here. That's not right. It was in reset. Like maybe the 5 wasn't so bad. Let's try that. Honestly, you know, it makes sense to do 1 so that you get the last line. But again, like the scroll position and the output line numbers are in a different space. And when we're calling this, we don't know what the dimensions of the terminal are, right? And we shouldn't care. But that also says that maybe this is handling it in the wrong place. And perhaps what we should do, rather than resetting when we switch processes, we set the scroll position on each one. So if we get, the key events are one place where we might be doing that, but if we go here, right, this is assuming that, you know, we're not going to just exit before we even display the screen. Maybe what we do is set the scroll position on the process itself. I don't know. My apologies. I need to take a quick break. Unfortunately, drinking all this coffee has made me need to take a bio, so I'll be back in just a moment. And hang with me. All right, we're back. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so we have some different ways we can go here. let's for now I think let's leave this, see how it does, and we'll just keep keeping one scroll position, right? And let's implement some more key combos, because I'm feeling like I'm not getting all the navigation that I want here. Luckily, we've structured this such as it's pretty easy to add some more. So we already have W for wrap. Now let's maybe what I want to do is add left and right. So let's go, because we could see those showing up above, right? But we weren't doing anything with them. I think that these are related to page up and page down, so I'll put them down here. Even though, you know, up, down, left, right, we were using up and down for selecting processes. Maybe it would make sense to switch these, like page up and page down are like bigger, right? I don't know. So we need to change the scroll position, but we're changing the X on this one. So we'll do saturating sub 1. Unfortunately, that's like not great. Now, if the if we're wrapping, we don't want to change that. Or what we want to do is reset it to 0. Actually, let's get rid of the negative here, and I'll fix that in a second. So if we're wrapping, we set it to 0. Okay, and we'll do the same, but the opposite on right. So we'll do saturating add. Now, obviously on this, the lower bound is 0, so we never go below that. But on the right, we might want to look at setting a maximum. So basically, what's the longest line that's in view, and never go beyond the right of that. But honestly, that's probably not that important. Let's give these a try. Okay, so we've got left and right. We're scrolling right. We're scrolling left. Maybe it's not so great to scroll by just one character. Let's go by 5 or 10. Let's try that. That's a little bit better. Like, you get these really long lines. It's going to take a while to get over there. If we set W, then we're wrapping again. And left and right don't do anything. Turn it off. We're back at the beginning. Okay, that's good. Oops. The other thing I should do is, if we're key code character, or I want escape to be exit. I'm tired of hitting escape and it not quitting. Xargs, but like a pirate arrgs. Yes, exactly, Mitch. Good to see you, Mitch. You know I'm a big pirate fan. You can see the flag back here. So, okay. Yeah, I don't know if 5 is the right number there. The other two that I was thinking about adding is home and end. And there's a question about whether that should do vertical scrolling or horizontal scrolling. My temptation is to say vertical, because that's, although page up and page down, maybe we can have modifiers? I don't know. Let's make home and end do vertical. So we're gonna set that to 0. The tricky one is going to be this. So what we're going to have to do is possibly, yeah, I think it's just this, right? Because we've got this, the currently selected process as output. How many lines does it have? Subtract 1. That's where we want to go, I think. Okay, so we hit end. Oh wait, I set 1. Not 0. Whoops. I was like, why is it scrolling right? Okay, so we go to end. Yeah, I think I'm getting that page up and page down should be between the processes, because home, gives you the beginning, end, page up and page down, scrolling a single line, and then you go up and home and end, jump to the beginning, and oops, I changed processes. So I think I want to switch page up, page down, and up and down. So let's change this to page up, page down, and this will be up and down. And I've trained my fingers to do the other things, so of course this is not going to be friendly anymore. Hey, my escape key worked. Okay, so up and down scrolls the current thing. Page up and page down, that feels more natural. Yeah. Home and end are still working. Yeah, okay, cool. Kind of like that. Are there any other keys I should add? Think about this. Nothing is coming to mind. And I'm staring at my keyboard while I'm looking down. Like, what can I do with that key? The only other possibility is if we care about modifiers, and I don't think that this. Let's see what. Go to that definition. Okay, so there are modifiers. Let's go to this. Okay, so this is bit flags. I don't know that I want to go that deep. Honestly, I don't think it matters for this. Yeah, I don't think it matters. Okay. So the only other possibility I would like to consider is having some key. Of course, I've been using Z a lot, so like Shift Escape, it makes the thing take up the entire space or toggles. One possibility might be that we could have the currently selected process take up the entire space. And what would be a good key for that? The interesting thing about that is it's going to change our whole layout algorithm, right? So let's what would be a good, like slash might be good. Let's use slash. And we're going to do something with that in a second, but we need to add, let's say, let's call it expanded. And again, you know, I'm let's just complain about not used. I'm just throwing things into this app. Like you might not want to structure things this way. It could honestly make sense to you know, sort of have the widget be a separate thing from the application, and that it constructs the widget. I don't know if that makes sense for us. It seemed to work really well for you know, delegating the rendering things to the process widget. But let's go down here. So first of all, let's implement what that does. So handle key event. So if we hit slash, we want to say self.expanded. So we want to toggle that. And probably it's just going to do like that. Okay. So if we go down to where we're rendering, so what I want to do with this is I think this is all fine. I don't think that we have any hard-coded 5 lines things in the rest of this anymore. Okay, I see. So so if self expanded, what we want to do is do a completely different layout. So I think what I'm going to do is this, and we'll do constraint length 1, and this I think we want %1. So this gives us does that work? Oh, it's a U16. Okay. Right, so give it a length 1 and then take the rest, right? See, might want to use constraint fill. So yeah, actually that's what we want. Fill 1. Fill excess space. Okay, so we want one line and then fill the rest. Okay. So now we can go. We need to do something similar to this. So I'm just going to copy paste and then we'll redo as necessary. And then rather than going through each of these, we're going to just get the selected one, right? Okay, so we'll do self.processes. Self.selected. And we're going to make a process widget. I wish I had not overwritten that. Processes. I'm going to borrow self.processes, the selected one. Scroll position is going to be sum self.scroll position because we only care about this one process, and wrap is going to be self.wrap. And then we'll do process widget render. Oh, right. Second is areas.next.unwrap. This is not a real great way to do this. Maybe we can do something slightly better. So what we were doing here is render first buff. Okay, so then we're going to render star second buff. Okay, so else, and then we do all this other stuff. Now we could probably factor some of this out. I'm just doing copy paste for now to make sure that we can make it work. Obviously the paragraph here is the same across both of those. So we could make that be shared. The layouts are not. We don't construct process widgets for everything. Now we could do this and then just get the selected one out, but then we'd be doing extra work on the case where we only care about one. So let's see if this works. Okay. Now the problem here is, so this is fine. Obviously we can't tell the difference. And our scroll position doesn't quite work, right? Because we're truncating. So when we're switching the selection and we're in this, full right, because we're just doing subtract 5. We don't know. Now what we could do here is say if self dot expanded. I hate intertwining this stuff, but it feels like it's interrelated, right? So if we're not expanded, then take 5 lines. if we are expanded, then let's just start at 0. Like I can't think of a better way to do that, because we don't know how much space we have at this spot. Interestingly, we did not reset scroll position when we went to expanded mode. So I think that we need to do that. I'm really beginning to dislike this function and what it's doing, because it's not taking into account the dimensions of the screen. And in fact, we probably need to think about what our scroll position is based on if we get the window change. Is that really not used? Oh yeah, because I did default. That's fine. I don't know why that thinks that's not used either, because we're using it. Okay, so if I hit slash, I do get full. And of course we have the same output for each of these, so home and end is fine, wrap. It does feel like we need to start reinterpreting these events as not changing absolute values of scroll position, but taking into account the like have a logical position, right? Maybe there's something like that, and then we can interpret that in the rendering phase. The problem might be there that once we have that, there's just too much like state dependencies here. And also we don't, like, since we've relied on Ratatouille to do the the wrapping with this paragraph struct, we don't get an understanding of like, because that scroll position is visual, right? That's not this is, I mean, I guess we can go look at some of their examples. Okay, so they're setting the scroll to 0, 0 here for this one. Let's see if they're ever setting it. Let's look at this one. So there's self.scroll they're passing in here. What is this? Oh, you know what? I could do it like that. I'm such a bonehead. Why was I bothering to treat it like an iterator? Just index into it when I only have 2. Okay. So their scroll is just a U16, their vertical scroll. In this example. Let's see if this example is useful at all. they've got a scroll bar. What is... Oh, and they're passing... There's a stateful widget. Interesting. What is this vertical scroll state? It's a scroll bar state. Okay. Question in my mind is, does that scroll bar give you... Let's see. Okay, so they've got this scroll bar state, and they're giving it set. This is the length of the content. Of course, they know what the longest line is. Okay. Interesting. Text the clone. Okay. Maybe we should run this example. What example is this? This is scrollbar.rs, and have a look at what it does. Can I run an example in a crate? Cargo run example in crate. Let's run in the current package. Nope. Run example. Well, I mean, I could clone it. Cargo install this crate example, some example. Okay. Install Ratatouille example scroll bar. And then it's going to install scroll bar globally. Cool. It's going to take forever. Yeah, I just want to see what the behavior of this is. Honestly, I didn't think that it depended on that much, but who knows? Because maybe we could take advantage of the scroll bars, and we could put them on our UI as well, and display, like, let them manage the state a bit and display where we are in the output buffer. So let's run scroll bar. Okay. So down. Okay, so interesting. You can see over here on the right. Hopefully that's not clipped on the stream. They've got that sort of information about where you are in the buffer. And then the same with the horizontal scroll. Home and end, page up, page down don't do anything on this. But they support HJKL. Except I don't use HJKL. Okay, so they've got an example here of on the right with arrows, on the left without any arrows, and then along the bottom. Anyway, that's pretty cool. So I guess there's sort of a question of do we go and get that scroll bar state thing? Let's look at the scroll bar state. So we could potentially track the scroll bar state without using the scroll bar. I wonder if that's yeah, because look, it takes previous, next, first, last. We could use this instead. The question is, that manually sets the position. I think I need to look at what this stateful widget thing is, because no, that's not a struct, it's a trait. It's the local state to remember things between two draw calls. Okay, so that's like if you have external state, you can pass it into the widget. It doesn't have to be a member of that widget struct. That makes sense. Okay, this is an interesting thing to know because we this might be the way to split out the app from its widget if we wanted to do that. But in the meantime, let's look at that scroll bar state again. Oops, scroll bar state, and maybe we just add this rather than okay, so I think what our way out of this is we do rather than track the scroll position directly, okay, so let's get rid of this, but we'll do we'll call it vertical scroll, and we want a scroll bar state, and we want horizontal scroll bar state. Okay, so then our reset, maybe we want to get rid of it potentially. Does this not have a default? Okay, so we're going to have to implement default. We can't derive it anymore. Oh, no, those are never read. It's fine to have. It's fine to have. Yeah, I guess that just defaults all to 0. Result in the scroll bar not rendering. That's fine. We're not using this to render a scroll bar. At least not yet. Okay, so what we want to do, we can keep this in here for now, but let's set the vertical scroll. So we're going to set it to the end if we're resetting. I don't think that we're going to keep this forever. First. So that sets it to, we're looking at the bottom of the buffer all the way to the left. The problem is where we're calling this is mostly when we're changing between processes. So I think what we need to do is figure out of course, here's the thing that's wonky about this, and maybe I need to look at the examples more. But we'll need to be able to change these based on what mode we're in. Yeah. Because we're not going to be able to get the direct. And we can set the length and the viewport content length. And these are nice for going to previous index, first and last. And honestly, we can do for down and up. Vertical scroll, previous, and down, vertical scroll, next, right? And same like with left and right. I'm still not convinced this is totally correct. It's going to rely on us knowing what the process is. And again, there's the intertwined issue of we don't know the scroll state necessarily. And if since these are like, you're gonna take, so if we find out what the viewport length is, because this consumes self, we can't pass it mutably, which is kind of bad for our use case. Because like if I want to keep this in app, I can only borrow out of this struct, right? Maybe this is the wrong direction. Interestingly, like the entirety of that is copy. So I don't know if it implements copy or not. Um, let's see. Does it implement copy? Implements clone. I mean, we can clone it, modify it, and then use a mutable reference to it to put it back in that same spot. But I think that's going to be problematic because we are already borrowing out of this for each render. And if we have to have the scroll bar state be mutably borrowed when we're trying to render that process, that's an issue. So I think I want to look at some of these examples again. Let's look at this. So they're just looking at, they're considering the content length to be the number of lines, really, which I guess makes sense for rendering a scroll bar, even if you're wrapping like the number of lines that you are displaying, like that, or rather you might be displaying one line that takes up 5 in the viewport, but that doesn't change your position within the buffer really that much for the sake of a scroll bar. Okay. Interesting. Right, and they're doing something similar here. They're just tracking the index into the contents that they're rendering, and it looks like that's what they're passing here. See, where's that render scroll bar called? Right, yeah, so they're passing self row index. Like we're not doing that different. Maybe this is the wrong direction to go. On the other hand, maybe what this could be is that when we switch, like we can just copy this in, right? We can clone it, pass it into the process that's being rendered, the process widget. So let's go here and say we need to, rather than go last and first, we need to reset those entirely. So we're going to say vertical scroll equals scroll bar state new, and we'll go self.processes self.selected. I should make that into a method. Dot output lines dot len. So that's vertical scroll. And then we could do and we don't know what the viewport content length is yet. But what we can do is when we're in that rendering each individual process, if it's got one, we'll copy this in, or we'll clone it into the process that's selected. We can say self.horizontal scroll, do the same thing is we're going to do iter we'll do map yeah, so we're just getting the longest line from there. Okay, what's wrong with that? So we'll use unwrapper default there, because we know that if this has output lines, then you know, 0 is acceptable for a horizontal scroll. Okay, so that gives us the longest line. And then I didn't mean to jump away from that. And then we want to go to the last on the vertical scroll and go to first. Okay, so like that's essentially what we were doing with this scroll position thing, except, you know, because we were going to you know, that's essentially doing this same thing, but we're doing it with their structs. I don't know if this is going to help, but let's go down and try to finish this up, and then we can call it a day. So if we go to where we're rendering for the app, I think we need to change the process widget. The scroll position is going to be a pair of 2 scroll bar states. And then if we go up here, so rather than that, we're going to say self.vertical scroll.clone and self.horizontal scroll.clone. Okay, and then we put that into the widget, and let's do the same here. Excuse me. Rather than then some, we need then. Okay. Okay, and then down where we're rendering, and again, we're going to need to rename this. This is okay. So the problem here, though, becomes I guess these fields are public. No, they're private. Why did it show them as public? So we're already setting the content length in terms of number of lines to the number of lines in the there's really not an accessor here. These are all like mutators. Yeah, I think I need to back this out. This is not. Now, if we were going to display a scroll bar, then this would be the right thing to use, I think. Yeah, I think I need to back this out. I'm sorry, folks. That because it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us get around this problem that we're trying to solve of we don't really have a concept of how many lines will be displayed at the point at which we're changing the scroll position. So that's kind of made this a bit awkward. Let's go back up to the top. I think we're kind of getting to a spot where this is not helping us. Let's go down here. Okay, and we can just get rid of those. Okay, let's see where we are. I mean, honestly, this feels pretty good, all things considered. This kind of handles the stuff that we wanted to handle. Yeah, we'll leave that to do there. I think let's make sure our implementation here is correct. One thing that we could do potentially in the render, I don't know, I think it's not. Yeah. We could here's something that I was just thinking of. When we get this call to render, we could potentially implement widget for a mutable borrow of app, and then let's go ahead and fix this. We're gonna do we don't care about that. Let's do rex 0 here. and here, sorry, I did that weird. Rex 1. If we did mutable, we could have this method So here's this frame thing. Which doesn't have any public fields. But we could potentially right, that's guaranteed not to change during rendering. So we could potentially call every time we draw, we could tell the app, like, here's how much space you have. So like if we're in expanded, we could know that they're like, what's the maximum number of lines we can display. However, this is right. So we're saying frame render widget self because we implemented widget for self. So we could here potentially, what if we make this take mute self? Or if we actually, let's just do it up here, right? We've got the frame. Then we can say, let's leave that. We could take something from the frame and set like what's the size. So like if we're expanded, we know that like the one process is going to take all of the screen but one line, right? So this area is a rect. Why don't we say self dot let's make a let's say max lines is a U16 because I think that that's what it is in the frame. So we could say self max lines is frame dot area dot height, right? So guys, what I'm trying to do here is go let's keep around might mean on the first render things are wonky because we haven't set it yet. We could potentially draw and then handle events, like that way we're at least getting this set once before we do anything else. You could come up with arguments for each one of those things. Um, so then we have this that we can use within handle events and within drawing. So let's go down to I think I want to go down to our friend that we've been fighting with, reset scroll position. So okay, so for expanded, maybe what we want to do is do self.max lines dot min right, because then we can say let me think about this. So we want either the let me go up here to where we're setting that, because this is not exactly right. We want to have actually two lines. We've got the debug display and the title, right? So yeah. Okay. So if we're an expanded view, we know the maximum number of lines that we can display this text in. So we want to right. So it's not this. It's not min. For Pete's sake, go back. Okay, it's not min. What we want is we want to go from the end so we want to take from the end and we want to subtract. Even this is not exactly correct because we might have wrapping, but we want to subtract the max lines so that we get the penultimate max lines displayed. Yeah. Whew, this is janky. Let me put a note here. This is, we want to display the last n lines of the output where n is the height of the pane that we're rendering into. Okay. That it's still not correct with respect to do we have wrapping turned on, because we don't know how much we're going to wrap. Now we could copy that rect into the app on every draw. But let's see about these warnings real quick. Okay, so we're not using scroll bar state. We can get rid of that. I swear we're using this somewhere. border. I guess we're not, because we're using that borders thing directly and we're constructing a border style. Yeah, so I guess we're not using it. I swore we were, but I was like, surely the compiler's lying. No, it's not. Okay, so if we get slash, now obviously this is not going to make a difference if we are not consuming the entire screen. Might make sense to get a terminal window open to handle this. So let's get iTerm open. And that is way too small. And what we'll do is we'll play with we'll play with the size of the terminal and so forth. Cargo run. Yeah. Okay. Okay, what it should do when I switch, interestingly, it's not. When I switch to process, it should reset the scroll position, but it's going to 0. Well, let's make it even shorter. Okay. Well, I think this feels like the beginning of a solution for this. I really don't like this self-reset scroll position everywhere, because it puts too much onus on this thing on getting it right, for all the different situations. I'm going to change these to 4, the width of a tab. We could also do, I just thought about, we have page up and page down. We could do tab with shift going backwards. That's an option as well. All right, let's put a pin in this for today, and I think I'll think about what we want to do for next time. It's really tricky getting this stuff to be well polished. Honestly, it's reminding me of our times working on UI stuff at Fable, where you can get the basics working, but for those little bit of UX things, you really want a high degree of polish and thought into what are all the interactions that might happen. And it is a challenge, man. Like I know people sometimes like to rag on front end folks for having too much complexity in their frameworks, but the domain is complex. Give them some credit once in a while. This is not easy. All right, so let's make a commit so we can push. And what happened with exec? Why is that modified? I think we just wrapped some comments. Was that the formatter? I think we just didn't commit that last time. All right. This is session 5, and we've got we added, expanded view, additional key bindings, and easier scrolling. Well, actually, we didn't have any scrolling last time, so I think this is even with some of the limitations we ran into, this is a really successful session. So cool stuff. All right. I will see you next week. We'll do some more of this. I'm going to figure out what we want to do for next week. But maybe we can add some tests. I think it'd be good to explore how to do 2E tests. They're obviously an interesting domain. I wonder if you do snapshot-like things. So thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.